Nola, born with clouded eyes, is considered a curse by her father, Obina, and a joke by the village bully, Jaren. While her sisters are groomed for wealthy marriages, Nola is cast out to the red clay pits. But the clay speaks to her in ways the sighted cannot understand. When the king's life depends on a vessel that can detect poison, the village must turn to the girl they once treated as death.
We know you can see what we cannot.
This is a story of how the things the world rejects often become the very things that save it.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more inspiring stories.
Throw this useless thing to the hyenas! A blind daughter is a mouth that eats but hands that cannot work!
Those were the first words I ever heard, or rather, the words that defined my beginning. My father, Obina, did not see a miracle when I was born. He saw a liability. In the village of Koda, sight was the currency of survival. We were hunters who tracked the silent leopard and weavers who caught the colors of the sunset in silk. To be born blind was to be born a ghost in a world of vibrant light. My mother, Nola, wept as she hid me in the back of her hut, but my father's heart had turned to stone the moment he saw my clouded eyes. They were not dark like the forest, they were white like the morning mist. As the years passed, my sisters, Ife and Amora, grew into beauties with eyes like hawks. They were the pride of the household. My father spent his last coins on fine thread so they could weave the most intricate patterns to attract the wealthy merchants from the northern trade routes. I was the shadow in the corner. I was the girl the children called Stone Eye. While my sisters were taught to see the beauty in a flower, I was taught to stay out of the way. I learned to navigate by the smell of the cooking fire and the vibration of footsteps on the dry earth. The wealthiest man in Koda was Chief Kento, and his son, Jaren, was the sun around which the village youth revolved. Jaren was as handsome as a golden lion and twice as cruel. He knew that my father was ashamed of me, and he used that knowledge like a whip. Whenever he passed our hut and saw me sitting by the threshold, he would deliberately drop his heavy clay cup in the dirt near my feet. Oops. Since you can't see the world anyway, Stone Eye, why don't you crawl down and find my cup? Your hands were made for the mud, after all. It's the only thing you and the earth have in common, you're both meant to be stepped on. His friends would roar with laughter. I would stay silent. I would lower myself to my knees and let my fingers comb through the dust until I felt the cold, smooth surface of his cup. But as I touched the earth, I began to realize something they didn't. To them, the dirt was just a mess. To me, it was alive. I could feel the grit, the moisture, and the ancient strength of the clay beneath the surface. While they mocked my blindness, the earth was whispering its secrets to my fingertips. Everything changed during the festival of first fruits. The village was alive with the sound of drums and the smell of roasted meat. My sisters were dressed in their finest silks, standing where the light would catch their faces. Jaren was there, looking at Ife with hunger in his eyes. But I was sitting too close. I was a ghost running the perfect portrait of my father's success. Go to the red pits, Nola. If you love the dead so much, live in it. Do not come back to this house until you have found a use for your life that doesn't involve being a burden to your sisters' futures. He shoved a wooden bowl into my hands and pushed me toward the path that led out of the village. I stumbled into the forest. Most people fear the dark, but for me, the forest was never dark, it was a symphony. I could hear the rustle of the leaves, the scuttle of the beetles, and the deep, low hum of the river. I found the red clay pits by the water's edge. It was there, in my exile, that I began to mold. I didn't need eyes to see beauty, I felt it in the curves of the clay. For 3 years, I lived in a small hut I built with my own hands near the pits. My mother would sneak away at night to bring me grain and salted fish, weeping at my state. She begged me to come home and hide in the cellar, but I refused. I wasn't suffering. I was discovering. I found that by mixing the deep red clay with a specific mineral found in the river stones, I could create pottery that was as thin as a bird's eggshell but stronger than the hardest iron. But the most incredible discovery was the clay's truth. I found that the earth has a memory of purity. When clean, life-giving water touched the pots I made, they would let out a low, sweet vibration, like a bee humming in a flower. But if even a single drop of poison, the juice of the nightshade or the venom of a snake, touched the clay, the pot would react. It would turn from a vibrant red to a bruised, oily black as dark as charcoal. I had created a silent guardian. While I was perfecting my craft in the mud, a shadow was falling over the entire kingdom. The great king of the seven lands had been targeted by a secret cult of assassins. 2 of his tasters had already fallen dead at the banquet table. The king grew thin and paranoid, refusing to eat. Finally, he sent a herald to every village in the valley. The king offers a chest of gold to the potter who can create the vessel of truth. It must be a cup or a bowl that can reveal hidden death. If your village brings a vessel that fails, and the king is poisoned, your village will be burned to the ground as a nest of traitors. The news reached Koda, and panic set in. Chief Kento saw an opportunity for even greater power. He summoned Jaren, who had taken up his father's hobby of pottery, though he usually left the hard work to his servants. My son, Jaren, is the finest potter in the valley. He uses the rarest glazes and the smoothest wheels. He will save the king and bring the gold to Koda. Jaren worked for 3 days and 3 nights. He decorated his pots with gold leaf and painted them with scenes of great hunts. They were undeniably beautiful to the eye. But when the king's herald arrived to test the vessels, he brought a flask of water mixed with a bitter, non-lethal root. He poured the liquid into Jaren's golden cup. The cup stayed golden. It sat there, pretty and useless. This is a toy for a child, not a guard for a king. It tells no secrets. Is there no one in this village who knows the soul of the earth? Your homes will be ash by sunrise if the king has no protection. My mother, Nola, stepped forward from the back of the crowd. Her voice was small but clear. My daughter, the one you cast out to the red pits, she has been talking to the clay for years. She sees with her hands what we cannot see with our eyes. The village erupted in laughter. My father, Obina, tried to pull her back, his face red with shame. She is blind, you fool. She lives with the pigs and the worms. She cannot even see the shape of a bow, let alone the truth of it. Ignore my wife, great Herald, she is delirious with grief. But the herald was desperate. He had seen the fires of the king's temper, and he knew his own head was on the line. He ordered the guards to the red pits. They found me covered in the dust of the earth, my white eyes staring toward the sound of their horses. They hauled me back to the village square like a prisoner. Jaren stood by the herald, mocking me as I was shoved forward. Look at the savior of Koda. A blind girl who sleeps in a hole. Tell me, Stone Eye, did the worms teach you how to make a cup? Or did you just trip and fall onto a piece of mud? I did not answer him. I placed a simple, unglazed red bowl on the table in front of the herald. Compared to Jaren's gold-leafed masterpiece, it looked like a commoner's scrap. My father groaned, covering his eyes. This is your offering. It is plain. Truth does not need a costume. Pour the liquid. The herald took a flask of wine laced with the juice of the mountain nightshade, a poison that is clear and odorless. He poured it into Jaren's beautiful cup first. The cup remained magnificent. It hid the death within its beauty perfectly. Then, the herald poured the same wine into my plain red bowl. The moment the liquid touched the clay, a sound erupted that stopped the hearts of everyone in the square. The bowl let out a high-pitched, mournful wail, like a mother crying for a lost child. Before their very eyes, the vibrant red clay began to pulse. It turned a sickly, bruised black, and the wine inside began to bubble and is as if it were being rejected by the very earth itself. The herald fell to his knees, trembling. The vessel of truth. The spirit of the earth has spoken. The news traveled like wildfire. The king himself arrived at Koda that evening, guarded by 100 soldiers. He was a man who had forgotten how to smile, but when he saw the red bowl, he wept with relief. He turned to the village elders, including my father and Chief Kento. This girl has saved not just my life, but the stability of the 7 lands. For her wisdom, she shall come to my palace as the royal artificer. She shall have her own workshop, and she shall be my most trusted advisor. As for the village, I promised a chest of gold to the family of the potter. My father, Obina, rushed forward, his eyes wide with greed. He tried to put his arm around my shoulders, but I stepped away before he could touch me. My daughter. My beautiful, gifted Nola. I always knew your clouded eyes were a sign of great spiritual depth. I sent her to the pit so she could study without distraction. Your Majesty, I am her father, and I will gladly manage the gold for her. I stood as tall as the mountains I had never seen. The silence in the square was so heavy I could hear my father's rapid, greedy heartbeat. King, you may give the gold to the village elders and to this man. They value gold above all else, so let them have what they love. But as for me, I have no father. This man told the village I was a mouth that eats but does not walk. He told me to go to the hyenas. He gave me to the darkness, and it was in that darkness that I learned that sight is a lie. You see a beautiful cup and you think it is safe. You see a blind girl and you think she is broken. Both are wrong. You have your gold, Obina. Use it to buy silk for your hawk-eyed daughters. But you will never see me again. I was born in the mist, and I will go to the palace with the king. I would rather be a ghost in a palace of truth than a daughter in a house of lies. I walked to the king's carriage without a cane, guided by the sound of the wind and the pride in my chest. My mother followed me, and the king welcomed her as well. We left Koda behind in a cloud of dust. My father and Jaren remained in the square, clutching their gold. But as the years went by, the gold did not bring them peace. Jaren became a bitter man, known for his beautiful cups that everyone feared to drink from. My father became a wealthy hermit, haunted by the memory of the daughter he threw away. They had the eyes to see the sun, the moon, and the stars, but they were the ones who were truly blind. They couldn't see the value of a person until the king put a price on it. I, the blind potter, spent the rest of my days in the light of the king's favor. I never gained my sight, but I never needed it. I had the truth of the earth in my hands, and that was more than enough to see me through the world. Thank you for listening to my story. It serves as a reminder that the world often mocks what it does not understand. Have you ever been judged for something you couldn't change? Let me know in the comments, and tell me where in the world you are watching from. Don't forget to like and subscribe to African Storytime Tales for more stories of wisdom and justice. Until next time, remember, do not judge a vessel by its shine, but by the truth of what it holds.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more inspiring stories. See you next time.